Yeah, this is the Quilters are a group of maximum security prisoners in a high security jail in America.
Hmm.
And as part of one of their sort of rehabilitation or restorative justice or one of their programs that they do, um, is they're mainly lifers who basically they have given the opportunity for them to hand make quilts for children in foster care and for people in their local communities. So the prison and the people who coordinate this organisation are given a list of all the children, as in their gender, what their likes are, what sort of size bed they have, and they just say, right, okay, they like butterflies. So could you make for a young girl? Could you make them a queen size quilt for the bed? And these prisoners, a lot of them were like lifers, people who we don't know what they all of them who are what they're convicted of, but some of them say, yeah, I'm in prison for a serious violence offence, or I did murder someone when I'm 20. I've now been in jail for 38 years, and
Are
this is
these
given me
male or female prisoners?
all male,
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. Good.
male, and they're all. Well, some of them are young, but most of them are like they say, yeah, I was arrested when I was 20. I've been in jail for 38 years.
Mm.
So this is someone who spent their lifetime in jail, and they've just found this unexpected talent. This, and in some of them, it's a passion for making these quilts, and they're allowed to use their imaginations and to create these sort of pieces of sort of practical artwork, really. And it's a short documentary, 35 minutes long,
Mm.
where some of them just talk about how it was they joined the program and what inspires them when they make these quilts. And for a lot of them, it's about giving something back. It's like saying, some of them have been in jail literally their whole lives. They're like teenagers or 19, 20 when they were convicted, and they're now like 60, nearly 60. And so for them, it's like they've made peace with themselves and with what
Mm.
they've done, and they're ready to start looking at what they can do to sort of be part of society in their own limited way. And yeah, you just see them in their quilt room, sorting out working out their plans, how they do the quilting, and then with their sewing machines, sewing these pieces together and ironing them, and then literally holding out these full size quilts. And then, yeah, it's quite a simple documentary, but I found it really quite moving actually. That
Mm.
that these lifers who, there's some of them are just like say they're not. There's conditions about how they can join this quilting group. They have to have a clean record. They can't have any punishments or against their record. They've got to be completely like a model prisoner.
Yeah.
They've got to be trusted. They sort of have access to like knives and to blades and scissors, but they're like signed out and then they have to sign them back in.
Yeah. For obvious
It's
reasons.
a
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just basically it's sort of using this sort of creative art form as a sort of means of like rehabilitation and almost like payback, where they can give to the sort of the most disadvantaged of society, and it makes them feel of more value, and also the children or the whoever's in need who get these quilts. Um, just moved by this sort of creative act. So
Oh.
I found it actually a really moving little piece of filmmaking, actually.
Oh, wow, cool. It sounds like it would make an interesting double bill with a film called Sing Sing with Coleman Domingo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
which is all about it's about a similar thing but drama, a drama club as opposed to a quilting club. So
yeah.
yeah, and I have to ask, sorry, just because these are images that are popping into my head as you're explaining this, and I want
Yeah.
to challenge them and make sure that I'm not just sort of like going into like the stereotypical thing. What is the racial split of these prisoners?
There's a mix. Some of them are, to use the parlance, are like African American.
Yep.
The first guy you meet, his name is called Chill. He's in for violence offence, and he's been in jail for a long, 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 long time. And he
Yeah.
says he says when I'm on the wing, I have this like bravado. I've got this sort of I've got to keep my reputation up so no one messes with me.
Yeah.
And then when he gets into his own cell, he's like designing quilts. He's like designing them and he's colouring them in, and he likes butterflies because his mum loved butterflies. So all of his quilt used fabric that had butterflies on it. And
Yeah.
then you see him going back choosing all these fabrics, and all the fabrics are donated, and everything is so. Chill is like one of the sort of spokesmen,
Yeah.
and in the other most of the other prisoners are white. I think the guy who like runs the quilt room, he's the one who's been in prison for 38 years,
Yeah.
and his mother was a quilter, so he had those skills, and he is the one that everyone goes to saying, "I don't know how to get this to work. How do I do this?" And he's the one who like guides them through it. the making process. But some of them are young, some of them look like they were, the youngest one I think was probably sort of late 20s, early 30s, and the rest vary in ages. And some of them are like, they had like a, again, using the parlance, looked like slightly Hispanic because he had like a shaved head and quite a lot of, he looked like he might have probably been involved in gangs at some point. I can't, that's just
Oh,
some of my
tattoos.
inference.
With the tattoos, yeah.
And when they did his look about it, I was just like, oh, okay, you've obviously got a look.
Yeah.
Um, I can't interpret what that means because it's not my culture. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a real mix, and they're just, you see these men who would probably be quite fearsome looking, but who are just like looking at fabrics. And actually, I think this person, because one of them is making like a 60s quilt, so they're using these sort of brightly coloured fabrics and stuff. And the quilts actually, they have a montage at the end of the different quilts they've made. They're amazing. Some of them are absolutely amazing.
Oh, that
Um,
that sounds brilliant.
So
But
taking sort of this awful situation, and like there's like a spark of hope there, like this sort of, there's, you can have something good and can come out of this seemingly endless incarcerations.
yeah,
So I don't know about the American legal system, about how when people are incarcerated, what the sort of jail terms are like. Because even here, someone can be convicted for murder, and they can be out within sort of 10 or 12 years.
yeah,
Whereas I don't know what the circumstances with this guy's murder, but he committed a murder when he was like 19, 20, when he was a drug addict. And yeah, like 30 years later, 40, nearly 40 years later, he's still in a maximum security prison.
yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't understand how that happens. Why isn't he like paroled? Or because when you talk to him, you're thinking, I'm sure anyone who talked to him would think this man is probably able to go into a lesser security jail or into a
Well,
maybe.
it also depends on the state that you're in because
And what's
states,
that? What how it happens?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they all have their own lessons. But how many stars would you give this?
I would give it a 4. I think it's a short but sweet. I found it, yeah, quite moving. I thought it, yeah, almost inspiring because I thought, what a lovely thing to do. Someone's idea that created this sort of, from darkness comes this light. So yeah, I really liked it. So yeah, I'd get definitely 4 stars for that. And it's on Netflix.
Mm.
And apparently it had won an award. It was like award-winning documentary. So someone else thought that's good as well at some point.
All right.